السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على رسول الكريم. ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين. اللهم إنا على ذكرك وشكرك وحسن عبادتك، ونور قلوبنا بمعرفتك، واشرح صدورنا بنور كتابك وسنة نبيك، واحفظنا عن زلل وخطأ في بيان مرادك. اللهم نور قلوبنا اللهم استعملنا ولا تستبدلنا، واجعلنا من الفائزين هادين هداة مهتدين غير الضالين ولا مضلين يا رب العالمين. بسم الله.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ولو سلم الحاضر بعدما قضي له بالجميع لا يأخذ القادم إلا النصف، لأن قضاء القاضي بكل الحاضر قطع حق الغائب عن النصف بخلاف ما قبل القضاء.
Have you really completed that, please, Rino?
That will be completed. قال
You-
والشفعة تجب بعقد البيع، ومعناه بعده لا أنه هو السبب، لأن السبب هو الاتصال على ما بيناه.
you- So now, the next question is, when can this person claim shufa? At which time must this person claim shufa? At any time? They're saying no. Imam Qudur Rahmatullah says, وَالشُّفْعَةُ تَجِبُ بِعَقْدِ الْبَيْعِ. That shufa comes into existence. Tajib, I mentioned to you before, doesn't mean it becomes compulsory, because obviously it's not something that has to be done. But shufa, the right to first refusal, comes into play, comes into effect uh, at the transaction, at the commencement of the transaction, or once the sale transaction has taken place. So وَمَعْنَاهُ بَعْدَهُ. What meaning by be actively? What does it mean? After the house has been sold or put up for sale. لا أنه هو السبب. Not, it doesn't mean, the ibarat of Imam Qudura doesn't mean that it is the sabab. What is basically saying here is that the be there, remember the word be is from the huruf al-ma'ani, those huruf in Arabic which have meanings. And in Arabic, sometimes one harf is used for multiple meanings. So ba can be for isti'ana, ilsaq, sababiyya as well. So he's saying that baya is not ba sababiyya. In other words, ashuf'atu tajibu bisababi aqdil bayt. That's not the meaning of the baya or the bi rather. Okay? That's why he's saying la annahu wa sabab. That the meaning of this ibara is that shufa comes into effect after the sale has taken place, or after it's been put up for sale. It is not for sababiyya. That's why he's saying it here. It doesn't mean as a result of. You won't translate it as a result of a business transaction or as a result of a sale. Understood?
Yeah.
لأن السبب الاتصال, because as we mentioned before, على ما بينا, as we already mentioned before many times, that the sabab shufa is اتصال and not the transaction. والوجه فيه إن الشفعة. Now what's the reason for that? Why is he allowed only to make this claim once the house goes up for sale, or once he has come to know it is already sold? And the person didn't put it up for sale, meaning openly, he sold it quietly, and the neighbor came to find out. So he's saying, أن الشفعة إنما تجب إذا رغب البائع عن ملك الدار. Then says shufa only becomes compulsory when the buyer, meaning the seller, has shown a disinclination and aversion to the ownership of the house. The word raghiba an means disinclination with the sila of an. Otherwise, the word raghiba normally means to be inclined towards something. So this is from the khasiyat and the latafa of the Arabic language. Man raghiba an sunnati. And raghiba ila something, which is raghiba means to be inclined towards something. Raghiba and to be disinclined. من رغب عن سنتي فليس مني أو كما قال. فإذا رغب البائع عن ملك الدار, that the shufa only comes into effect once we come to know that the seller is no longer interested in owning that property. Now, you're going to know that that's something which is in the heart, and we got no way of knowing what his intention is. That he doesn't feel like staying in the property anymore. He wants to sell. والبيع yet, so you're saying والبيع يعرضها. How will we come to know that he's disinclined? The transaction, the sale of that house will reveal that, will disclose that. And عرف يعرف تعريف, to make something known, to make something معروف. So the sale of the house will disclose that. The only reason why somebody doesn't want to be there anymore, he wants to move away. Okay? So this shows us that this person, the seller, is no longer interested in holding onto that property or being an owner of a particular property. So this shows his disinclination. Right? So the sale itself, the sale is will show his intent, and the sale of the house or the property will show his intent. So once we come to know of his intent, that he's no longer interested in it, now we can say, okay, I'm interested in it. You don't want it, I want it. You follow? ولهذا يكتفي بثبوت البيع في حقه. And it's for this reason that the establishment of the sale suffices in regards to the seller. And him putting it up for sale will reveal to us what his intent is. We don't have to ask him anymore. That is sufficient to tell us that he is no longer inclined to being the owner of the property. Okay? حتى يأخذها الشفيع, so that the shafi may now take it and claim it for himself. But you're not interested, I'm interested. إذا أقر البائع بالبيع, that is, if the seller acknowledges and admits to the sale. وإن كان المشتري يكذب, even though in his wasliya, even though the buyer is rejecting it or denying it. Meaning that if it has to go to court and now the third party who's supposedly buying the house, then he's saying that this person sold me the house at this particular price. And the seller says, no, I didn't sell it. So whose word do we take? So the author is saying we will take the word of the seller. Al-qawlu qawlu al-ba'i. You follow? So in such an instance there, even though the buyer is claiming that he purchased the property or is in the process of doing so, with the rejection of or the denial of the seller, we will say that no sale has taken place, so therefore, O neighbor or partner, you're not entitled to shufa. Hello?
It's just a question with regards to that statement on top. That was شفعة تجب بعقد البيع. That ba, is it correct to translate it with what?
Yeah, you can say with, because ilsaq is basically for ilsaq, so you can say with. Comes into effect with, yeah, with the sale, correct, yeah. With will be fine because it will come for ilsaq basically.
قال وتستقر بالإشهاد ولا بد من طلب المواثبة لأنه حق ضعيف.
So this is actually going to be explained in detail in the next chapter, in the next bab. That is mentioning it here. So it comes into effect with knowledge of the sale, with when the person learns that the house is taking, but it doesn't automatically become established. And what has to happen is, as will be discussed in the next bab, as soon as the neighbor or the sharik hears about the sale, he has to immediately make his intent clear. Number one. Okay? And secondly, he must make his intent clear by saying that he intends to buy that house, or he's interested in buying the house or the property or the share of his partner, whatever. Number two, it must be done immediately. And it must be done immediately. So what does takiru bil ishad? This is called talabul ishad. Okay? And shufa becomes confirmed. And it is confirmed by the shafi', the potential or the incumbent shafi', claiming a stake or claiming his right. ولا بد من طلب المواثبة, and طلب المواثبة is number two. Muathaba means to jump up immediately. And that's basically what muathaba means, to jump up. And it becomes concrete, and it is necessary that he seeks to do so immediately. Why? لأنه حق. Now this will be explained in the next paragraph. Right? It will become, so there's basically three processes: طلب الإشاعة, طلب المواثبة, and there's a third one, I forget the name now. Anyway, it will come in the next part. Okay. So as soon as he comes to know, he must immediately say, I'm buying the property. Either to those around him or at the property. He must go and stand there by the property and say, or he must go to the seller and tell him, you're selling, I'm interested. That's it. It must be done immediately. لأنه حق ضعيف. Why is it so? Because this is a weak حق. It is right, but it's a very weak حق. Why? يبطل بالإعراض. Because it can become cancelled and invalid by disinterest. He doesn't even have to say anything. By him just staying silent, the right will be waived. Understand? So it's a very weak haqq. So we need something to confirm it. So we need something to strengthen it. فَلَا بُدَّ مِنَ الْإِشْهَادِ. So therefore it's necessary for him to stake his claim verbally. Ishhad, although they're using the word ishhad, it doesn't mean he has to say ashhadu, that I bear witness. No, ishhad basically means that he must say he wants it. Okay, and make others witness to that, what he's saying. Okay, he doesn't have to say ashhadu and all that. Okay, he doesn't have to testify and take the shahada as you would do maybe for other claims. والطلب ليعلم بذلك رغبته فيه. And the reason for him staking his claim is so that it can be known, so that his interest can be known. ليعلم ذلك بذلك رغبته. فيه دون إراده. So that we can come to know his interest in it, his inclination to it, and not his disinclination or his disinterest. You follow?
Yeah.
وإذن يحتاج إلى إثبات الطلب إن القاضي. And also it is necessary for him to establish and to prove that he did make a claim at the in the court of the Qadi, meaning that if it has to go to court, that this person doesn't want to give him the house, the seller doesn't want to give it the house to him, wants to sell it to a third party. Now he's taking it to court. So the Qadi will ask, you know what, do you have any witnesses to say that you claimed it immediately, claimed your haq immediately? Okay, so it's for two reasons. Number one, so to strengthen his haq. Number one, it serves two purposes: to strengthen his haq, and number two, should it go to court, there must be other people around who can testify that yes, he did claim his haq publicly. Follow? ولا يمكن إلا بالإشهاد. This won't be possible except by him publicly claiming his right. And translating ishad is that, although ishad means to testify, to bear testimony. And so this is not possible for him it won't be possible for him to do so unless he publicly declares his interest in that property. قال
قال والجملة بالأخذ إذا سلمها المشتري أو حكم بها حاكم لأن الملك.
So shufa comes into effect with the sale. It is becomes concrete and affirmed and verified by him making talab, by him staking his claim publicly. And thirdly, he becomes the owner how? وَتُمْلَكُ بِالْأَخْذِ. He has to take possession of it, and then he becomes the owner. إذا سلم, this is important because of the Masala coming in front. Only once he makes akhd of it, only once he takes it into his possession, does he become the owner, not before that. Okay? So إذا سلمها المشتري, either by the mushtari, meaning the third person, that's the buyer, handing it over, and so the seller sold it to a third person. Okay? For example, Zayd and Amr are neighbors. Zayd is selling his house, but he sold it to Abdullah. And then Amr came to know about it. Okay? So he says, no, I want the house. So he went to the person who purchased it, Abdullah. I told him, you know what? I'm his neighbor. I'm claiming Hakushuf. I hand over the house. So she said, fine. You want the house? You can take it. So either by the mushtari handing it over to him, or hakama bi al-hakim, or by the judge ruling in his favor. Okay?
Sure.
لأن الملك المشتري قد تم. Why? Because the ownership للمشتري قد تم. This is in the case, obviously, where the ownership for the mushtari has been completed, meaning the sale went through it. He paid the money and he got the keys, everything. Okay? Because it's done quietly. فلا ينتقل إلى الشفيع إلا بالتراضي. So therefore, it will not be transferred into the ownership of the shafi except by mutual consent. And once he has become the owner of it by paying and whatever, it is now up to him to mutually hand it over happily. And if he's not happy, أو قضاء القاضي, or by means of that qadi ruling in his favor. كما في الرجوع في الهبة, as happens when a person is taking a gift back. Okay? A gift, when you take a gift back, either the person who gifted the gift to the mawhub lahu is happy to give it back to you, or a qadi rules in your favor that the gift needs to be returned. Okay?
Sure.
Now, what is the benefit of this? وَتَظْهَرُ فَائِدَةُ هَذَا. The benefit of this, meaning that he only becomes the owner with akh in one of these two, through one of these two ways. What is the benefit of knowing this? What is the thamara? What's the consequence? فيما إذا مات الشفي بعد الطلبين. Number one. In the masala where the shafi passed away after he had staked his claim in the two manners mentioned above, talabul ishad and talabul muwathaba. Or number two, أو باع داره المستحق بها الشفعة. Or number two, he sold his house because of which he was entitled to the shufa. Right? So he is the neighbor. Again, Zayd is the neighbor of Bakr. Zayd is selling the house. Bakr, who is his neighbor, is claiming shufa. Right? But now, before he could take possession of Zayd's house, he sold his own house, the Shafi. Understood?
Sure.
Right, that's number two. Number three, أو بيعت دار بجنب دار المشروع قبل حكم الحاكم. Or the house next to the house which is being put up for sale was sold before the ruling of the hakim. وتسليم المخاصم, or before the opponent handed over the house. Okay? So in these masail, what will happen is he'll not be entitled to the shufa. Right? And now, أو تسليم الخاصم لا تورث عنه في سورة الأولى. So in the first instance when he died, this haq doesn't go into his inheritance, doesn't go into his estate. Otherwise, his children or his heirs can't claim haq shufa. If he dies, it dies with him. The haq dies with him. It doesn't get passed on. You follow?
Sure.
وَتَبْتُلُ شُفْعَتُهُ فِي الثَّانِيَةِ. In the second instance, where he sold his own house before the حكم الحاكم, or before the seller, the mushtari, could hand it over to him, then his haq shufa becomes batil. Why? Because the sabab is no longer there. Sabab of ilsaq is no longer there. He doesn't know. It was his house that gave him the right, ilsaq of his house, that gave him the right of shufa. But now that he sold his own house, the sabab is no longer there. so he doesn't have the haqq any longer. Okay, so his shufa becomes invalid by him selling his house. وَلَا يَسْتَحِقُّهَا فِي الثَّالِثَةِ. And in the third instance, then where a house, and the house which is next to the Dar al-Mashfu'a is sold, then he is not entitled to it at all. Okay? لِإِنْعِدَامِ الْمُلْكِ لَهُ. Why? Because he doesn't have ownership of it.
So which house is that now?
Right. So here, you have to understand what's happening here is Dar doesn't actually mean house. That we normally translate it as house. But Dar can refer to what in our time might be a subdivision or a flat. So you got a complex, right? And the person, how to explain this? Right. So the person that put up his house for sale, right? He is not selling the property or that part of the property that is attached to his neighbor, that's next to his neighbor. Okay? He is selling the property that's on the other side. Right? So imagine there's three houses, right? A, B, and C. B is selling up, right? Now on his side he's got A and he's got C. C is the neighbor that wants to claim shufa. But now B is not selling that part of the property that is attached to C's property. He's selling one section of the house that is on the other side. Okay?
Yeah.
So in that case there, C cannot claim shufa because he's got no connection to A's place. Okay, he's gonna A is on that side. He's got no connection to that. Right? So I think basically this is taken like a hila. So what the person does is he sells or he partners somebody to one section of the house that's like in our example attached to A, right? He sells that section, right? You follow? If, for example, he sells it to A himself, and sells it to A himself, okay? So and then this guy can't claim shifa. C can't claim shifa because it's not attached to his property, okay? And then thereafter, he sells the property. Understand? So in this case here, A can claim shufa, C can't any longer. Why? Because A has become sort of like a partner in that property. So that's one way of getting around, so to speak, the shufa rights. That you first sell a part of the property, making the third party, even if it's a third party, making a third party a co-owner of your property. And then you sell the rest of the property to this person who was going to buy the whole thing in the first place. Understood? I'll explain it again, inshallah. Time is short. Okay, I'll explain it again if you're not too sure. Go through it, and then you can just let me know if you're not very clear on that. ثم قوله تجب بعقد البيع بيان أنه لا يجب إلا عند معاوضة المال بالمال على ما بينا. Then he says another thing that we understand by him saying ببيع when Imam Qudur Ahmad mentioned the Bi'aktil Bay, this is an explanation or clarification that Shufa is not, it doesn't come into effect except when there is an exchange of wealth, as I explained to you in the beginning of the chapter, right? There must be the property must be being purchased for money, for cash. It can't be a gift to his son or in lieu of mahar to his recently married wedded wife, or as a sulah in the case of qatli khata, for example, and so on and so forth. Okay,
Okay.
it must be a cash sale. Alama nubayyinu inshallah ta'ala, as we will explain again in future inshallah ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala a'lam. To the knows best, a'lamu bisawat, knows best what is correct. Okay, so the next bab is babu talabati shuf'ati wal khusumati fi. That's what I was telling you. This is an explanation of the 3 stages of shufa, or the 3 marahil through which shufa must go through. Talabu ish'ad, talabu muwathaba, and then the talabu khusuma, I think it's called. Still can't remember the third one. Okay, so this is going to explain in detail the whole process, the 3 processes of the shufa, of claiming shufa, and what needs to be done and how it needs to be done. Gee, any question?
No more.
Okay, so just go through that part again. If you didn't understand it, inshallah, we'll try and explain it next week. Bismillah ta'ala. We're still alive, inshallah. Gee. Okay, inshallah. Remember seeing Friday night also, first Jummah of Dhul Hijjah as well. Kindly remember your asatidha, your parents, your asatidha, your family members, and our ummah as well, especially in those places where ummah is going through strife and difficulty, inshallah. Surah Al-Kahf as well, and try and give Surah Al-Kahf and the other surahs as well. Ataf salawat as well. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi, subhanakallah wa bihamdika, nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.